A student was once bragging about his rabbi who could work wonders. The student said, "When my rabbi climbs on a bench, he can see to the ends of the earth." Hearing that, his friend replied, "Why does your rabbi have to get on a bench if he can see that far?" The student proudly explained, "My rabbi, I'd like you to know, wants his miracles to look realistic." Similarly, my dad was a wonder worker, but his life made those remarkable acts seem so realistic, even ordinary. There's no individual I admire more. This afternoon, I want to share with you the reasons I admire my dad so much. To begin with, I admire my dad because he worked so hard to provide for our family. My dad was born in 1924, the middle child between Uncle Marty and Auntie Lillian, both of whom he loved very much. His father, my grandfather Jacob, whom I am proud to be named after, built a successful business at a young age, not long after arriving in Montreal from Eastern Europe, as many other families did, to pursue a better life. But the business didn't survive the Great Depression. Watching his father go through this hardship had a major impact on my father's life. Like many of his generation, he had a real disposition for seeking stability and security. After finishing high school, he spent the war years building complex switchboards for battleships. Once the war ended, he worked for about a year in the electrical business before starting his own company. It was called Utica Electric. There was nothing fancy or wasteful about his running of this business. His office was in the basement in our home. The entrance was through the garage. He was up at 6 every morning. He developed a reputation for quality work and honesty. Everyone he worked with, suppliers, customers, co-workers, respected him, and he respected them. I remember very clearly his emphasis on paying every invoice immediately upon receipt. That business, thanks to his ability and hard work, was successful. He made a good life for himself and his family. And that's not because my dad valued material things. He didn't. He wouldn't buy a shirt if it had a logo on it. But he wanted to provide for his wife and for us, his children. We had trips to Florida in the winter and family celebrations. Given the goodness that his business bestowed on all of us, it's no coincidence that we've all developed that same entrepreneurial spirit. I admire my dad because he was a good father. It was once said that North American children suffer from too much mother and not enough father. That wasn't the case in our household. We were blessed with both the best mother and the best father. Daddy was busy with work, but always had time for his family, for my mother, for me, my brother Mark, and my sister Kathy. I remember him helping me with homework, as well as teaching me chess and tennis. He particularly loved the game of tennis, and he taught the game to many friends and family. I have special memories of the times we went to the Côte de Liesse Racket Club for our tennis matches. Once he surprised me by suggesting we go to the Montreal Forum to watch on the big screen the epic fight between Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. I know boxing isn't to everyone's taste, but it was a great thrill for me, and I was touched that he wanted to share the experience. No parents are prouder of their children. My father, and of course my mother, always cared so intensely about us that I am sure they felt our ups and downs more deeply than we ourselves did. My brother Mark and my dad spent so many great times together. Some of my brother's fondest memories include going to the Steam as a young guy with my dad and his friends, and then going with them for dinner. He also remembers with great fondness the ski outings with my dad. My dad worked with and encouraged Mark, who eventually started his own business. My dad provided the kind of tremendous moral support that only parents can give. My dad was also very close to my sister Kathy. His eyes would light up just at the sight of Kathy. All she had to do was look at him with her big blue eyes, and any wish she had would be granted. We are all so appreciative of Kathy's amazing dedication to both of my parents. I admire my dad because he was a good husband. Dad showed his children what a great marriage is like. He and my mother were together for 55 plus years and went through so much together. They might at times have harmlessly bickered. For example, when my mother caringly asked me questions about my life and if I'm okay, he might say, "Ro, leave him alone." But truly, the only time my father really felt safe was when my mother was by his side, and it was always this way right till the end. My father's choice of a spouse has taught us what to look for in a marriage partner. We have all found amazing spouses who are supportive and whom we love deeply. I admire my dad because he was such a good grandfather. My father was a kind and gentle man. He adored all his grandchildren, and they called him Papa Myer. His deep bond with his grandchildren transcended words. They knew it and were comforted by it. As a consequence, his grandkids always wanted to be around him. His nieces and nephews had affectionate names for him, including Uncle Mio and Uncle Wire. He recorded songs for the children in our family and the children of friends of our family. He adored all children, and all children adored him. I admire my dad because of the joy, the pure joy he brought to so many occasions. When he was at weddings or bar mitzvahs, he would jump into a circle and do his unique dance or burst into song. In fact, he'd spontaneously sing and dance at the dinner table, something which brought indelible joy to my children. He was so entertaining that he won first prize on a cruise for his rendition of Romania. My father had a flair for practical jokes. One weekend he came to stay at our house in Toronto. That weekend we kept hearing the chime of a doorbell. Every time we ran to the doorbell, no one was there. Besides, the chime didn't sound familiar. By Sunday, this kept happening. And suddenly, we saw my dad giggling. Turns out he had a wireless doorbell in his pocket that he kept pressing. For all these reasons, and more generally for being a wonderful person and father, I admire my dad. Dad, you are a role model to me and an inspiration to everyone who knew you. I'm deeply blessed to have had this opportunity to share my love and admiration for you. Most importantly, I'm deeply blessed to have had you as a father. My father loved to sing Avinu Malkeinu. In fact, it is the last prayer he remembered and the last thing he sang. We'd be honored if Cantor Subar could now sing Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki Yenevanu Masim, Aseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Aseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Ve'yoshiyenu, Aseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed, Aseimanu, Tzedaka v'chesed,